Hey y'all, and welcome back to my channel. In this tutorial we are going to be making that beautiful split tumbler you see in the center. We are using many amazing products to compose this tumbler, including a exclusive glitter that will be available very soon, so stay tuned for those details. And one of the most exciting things about this tumbler is it only took me 2 days, y'all. 2 days. So let's get started. We are using a 32 plump from the steel Magnolia, and I have prepped it using Artistries Mattify. And I'm taking this beautiful, gracefully created vinyl. I wrapped it around the tumbler and just marked it with my nail at the point where the vinyl met. And then I folded that in half to that point and just kind of crimped it a little bit in the center. And that's gonna give me a perfect half for my tumbler. And once I did that, I put it on my tumbler just to get it lined up with the top rim where I would like, and marked it off on the bottom so I can trim off the excess. And then I trimmed off a little slither of the backing from my vinyl. So once I get it lined up on my tumbler, I can press that down and it's gonna stay put and be perfectly straight when I lay it down. You're gonna take your perfectly trimmed vinyl and line that up with your top rim of your tumbler. Leave a little bit of the stainless so that when you do sand later, since we're adding glitter, it is not going to sand off any of your vinyl and you will have a very nice seal. Press out that backing as you are rubbing down your vinyl from top to bottom of your tumbler. Then make sure the top and the bottom rims are pressed down really well, and we can move on to the next step. Now this one's a little tricky. It would have been helpful if I actually marked off the lines on the top and the bottom of the tumbler. What you have not seen here is the 30 times that I tried to get this even. So you want it to be the same distance from the top as it is the bottom so that it's nice and even. I have seen where the top portion of this is a little bit larger to add a decal for the focal point, but our decal is going to go on our vinyl side, so I just split it right down the center. Now I have the new Artistries shape tape. A lot of people use this for the really cool burst patterns, the tangrams. I have seen so many amazing designs using this shape tape, and let me tell you, it is super sticky. So be very careful when you are applying this so you do not have to reposition. As you see, I'm trimming that little bottom slither off so it does not stick to my stainless. If it is sticking to this tumbler that well, imagine what it can do with glitter. So if you are a fan of the burst style, tangrams, buffalo plaid, whatever, this stuff is amazing and it really grabs a hold of your glitter. So I just positioned it to where it covered the top portion, and then I'm going along the lines of my vinyl and the tape that we laid down to trim that off perfectly and have nice straight edges. I had a little trouble in one spot just because my blade is super dull, and in order to change the blade on this knife, you have to have some like needle nose pliers to pop the blade off, and it exposes the fresh one underneath, which is really nice if you can find your needle nose pliers, and I can't. So anyway, so instead of trimming the top off, I pulled it really tight around the top of the rim, so when I apply my fulls, I am not going to lift that up. Once they're applied, then I will trim off that excess. I am using this really, really cool antiqued copper from Southern Belle glitter, and I just put it in position and rubbed it down really well. You do not have to be super particular on this because it is textured. So if you have any places that bevel or have any creases in them, really it just adds more character to the cup. You can take a little piece and go and touch up in areas and you won't be able to tell. It just blends right in. Once that is down, I just took my blade and went around the top rim and very carefully trimmed off that excess of the shape tape. And as you can see, I held my blade at an angle so that I can expose just a little bit of stainless above that full. I'm going to remove my tape and then add some on to protect our vinyl on either side. Now, I did not add any painter's tape to the full side because I was a little concerned about pulling that up. But really, I could have just put my tape on something to take a little bit of the stickiness away and then applied it over it, just so I have a little bit of protection, and it would have been a lot easier to paint. And I apologize, I didn't realize I was not recording when I started painting this tumbler, but I am using navy COLORFLEX paints, also from Artistry, and I am very carefully applying that against the fulls and painting the remaining of the tumbler. Since this paint is 3-in-1, it is a paint, primer, and glue all in one. I'm going to apply my glitter directly to the paint once I have the tumbler covered. And the glitter that we will be using is Gizelle. I love the name. It was named by my daughter, who a lot of you know as my shipping department. She also loves helping mix custom glitters and naming them. We worked with Callie at COLORFLEX by Artistry and got this really beautiful custom mix with deep blues and greens. I just love it so much, and it will be available February 24th at midnight on colorflexpigments.com. I will list those details below for y'all, along with a discount code and their group information so you can stay up to date. Now, I allowed that to dry for 2 hours, and I spray sealed it with Rust-Oleum matte clear coat twice, just to make sure that my glitter was really nice and sealed and it would not move anywhere when I'm applying my epoxy. The epoxy that I'm using is Artistries 1-to-1 fast set, which plays a huge role in how I was able to complete this tumbler in 2 days. So everything that you have seen this far has been 1 day. After I apply my first layer of epoxy, I'm going to allow this to dry overnight, and then we will sand the top and bottom rims and over the tumbler to get any lumps and bumps out so we can apply our vinyl. The 1-to-1 ratio is a thick viscosity, so whenever I apply it, I normally only have to do 1 coat, as long as if I'm using a chucking glitter, it is laid nice and flat. But of course, if you see that you are needing another coat, this epoxy dries like turbo fast, so within 45 minutes you can add on a second coat. My room stays at 68 degrees and humidity has been 100 here lately, so for me it dries in about an hour to the touch, and I'm able to turn my turners off, and then I can actually handle them later that day. But you definitely want to allow that to dry overnight before you do any sanding. So here we are on day 2. I have sanded my tumbler, and I'm adding on thin strips at about 0.008, and I actually just trimmed these with my vinyl cutter. You can use your Cricut machine and do 0.008 by 11.5, or of course Silhouette, whatever program you have. This is one of my favorite textured vinyls. It's just a brown textured vinyl from TeckWrapcraft. I will also list that below for y'all. They have some really pretty colors in like a vintage gold, rose gold, and I have all of them and use them all the time. Since we measured everything out before, our seams are perfectly straight, so I just take that little strip of vinyl and go straight down the seams. And then I trim off any excess where my vinyl is overlapping or reaching the top or bottom of my tumbler. Now, I made the decal that we are using myself, so it will be available for free in the drop box that I have in the Brittany Barnes Boutique Tumbler epoxy group. I'm using 3 different color vinyls to give some dimension since we're applying this over a pretty busy pattern. And how I do this is I import my original image or my main image, and then I set an offset to 0.025, and then I take that offset and do another at 0.025. So you do an offset and then an offset of the offset, if that makes sense. I wish that I would have went a little bit bigger, probably could have went to 0.045 on the black offset just so it would have stood out a little bit more from the pattern. But overall, I'm obsessed with how these colors come together, and I love it. Once I applied my decal, I went in with 2 more layers of Artistries 1:1 ratio fast set. I applied 1 layer and then 45 minutes in. Since you can use this fast set as a top coat, I applied my final coat of epoxy and my tumbler was complete. I love these color combinations so much I had to make more, so I went ahead and made a 24-ounce plump and a 12-ounce slim koozie. Both of those tumblers are also from the Still Magnolia, and I'm pretty sure I just want to keep them all. But they will be available for sale on my website here in the very near future, so definitely be on the lookout if you want to grab one of these. I hope that you all enjoyed this tutorial and you learned something new. If you have any questions, just drop them down in the comments. Of course, all of the materials that I used will be in the description below, as well as a couple of coupon codes. Follow us on Instagram and join our Facebook group if you want some additional tips and tricks and giveaways. And don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. If you enjoyed this tutorial, hit the little bell in the corner to be notified anytime a new tutorial drops. Thank you all so much, and I will see you next time.